New York has always preferred to hide its most fascinating stories inside its most familiar places. There are miles of bookshelves buried under a park. The ceiling of a steakhouse holds 90,000 clay pipes belonging to the most famous and the forgotten, and an abandoned subway station from 1904 that still turns trains around in the dark. This city has a reputation for moving fast and letting things go. But if you spend enough time here, you'll start to notice something else. A quiet stubbornness about the things this city decides are worth keeping and slowing down for. You just have to know where to look.
The American Museum of Natural History holds 32 million specimens. Insects, fossils, meteorites, and cultural artifacts from every civilization on Earth. Only 2 to 3% is ever on display. The rest sits in climate-controlled vaults, tended by over 200 scientists running more than 100 field expeditions every year. The museum you walk through is the surface of something much larger. The 94-foot blue whale in the Hall of Ocean Life was updated in 2003, partly to fix anatomical inaccuracies and partly to add a belly button the original 1969 model had omitted. It is now the most anatomically correct model in existence, and most people standing beneath it have no idea where a whale's belly button even is.
Everyone who visits New York eventually makes their way to the Met. You know the building. That great classical facade on Fifth Avenue, the fountains, the steps where half the city seems to sit on warm afternoons. But here's something most people walk right past. Look up at the columns and notice what is and isn't there. The architect Richard Morris Hunt designed the facade in 1894 with 31 sculptural groups intended to crown it. He died before construction began. The money ran out and the stone sat there, roughly shaped but uncarved, for 117 years. Not until 2019 did Kenyan artist Wangechi Mutu fill those niches with 4 striking contemporary figures. The building spent more than a century announcing its ambitions and then quietly waiting for the funds and the vision to arrive. Inside, the scale becomes something else entirely. The Met is actually more than 20 different buildings joined together, which explains why the architecture shifts so dramatically as you walk from one wing to the next. You can even stand in a real 2,000-year-old Egyptian temple, like the Temple of Denda, a gift from Egypt in 1965, saved from flooding when the Aswan High Dam was built. It is now housed in its own glass-enclosed wing, with a pool of water meant to evoke the Nile. 2 million works of art, 5,000 years of human culture, and only 1% of this museum's fantastic collection on view at any given moment. A treasure trove in the heart of the city. Now let's go down to Bryant Park and Fifth Avenue to the New York Public Library. The 2 lions out front, Patience and Fortitude, named by Mayor LaGuardia during the Depression, to remind New Yorkers what they needed to get through, were known for decades before that simply as Leo Astor and Leo Lennox, after the library's founders. Names change when cities need new meaning from its old stones. Beneath Bryant Park, directly behind the library, there are miles of bookshelves. The library expanded underground, building 2 levels of stacks beneath the park lawn to hold its collection. For decades, book requests traveled through the building via an elaborate system of pneumatic tubes. And in the vaults upstairs, the library holds one of the few surviving copies of the Gutenberg Bible, a draft of the Declaration of Independence in Jefferson's own hand, and perhaps more surprisingly, the original stuffed bear that inspired A. Milne to create Winnie the Pooh.
Every version of New York eventually leads to Central Park, and Central Park eventually leads to a harder conversation. The park is larger than Monaco. Almost everything that looks natural in it, the lakes, the meadows, the wild rocky outcroppings, was designed and built by hand. 20,000 workers moved 3 million cubic yards of soil. 270,000 trees were planted. 36 bridges were laid. But before any of that, the land was Seneca Village, a prosperous community of primarily African-American property owners with 3 churches, 2 schools, and hundreds of residents. The city claimed it through eminent domain in the 1850s and cleared it entirely. The community was erased, its history largely forgotten for over a century, until scholars and archaeologists began excavating its memory in recent decades. The park now has its own police precinct, the NYPD's 22nd, which covers Central Park exclusively. It is the only precinct in New York City whose entire jurisdiction is a single park, a city within the city, tended by its own guardians.
The Guggenheim on Fifth Avenue is Frank Lloyd Wright's only building in New York City, and it took him 16 years to complete, the longest commission of his career. Wright wanted visitors to take the elevator to the top and walk down the continuous spiral ramp, viewing art as a flow rather than a sequence of rooms. Critics and artists complained it was nearly impossible to hang paintings on curved walls, but Wright didn't live to respond. He died in April 1959, 6 months before the museum opened its doors. The debate has continued ever since, which seems quite fitting for a building that refuses to behave like anything around it.
On the east side of Lexington Avenue sits the Chrysler Building. It still catches the light in a way that no other skyscraper is quite able to. Its stainless steel crown, modeled on hubcaps and hood ornaments from Chrysler automobiles, was assembled in secret inside the building and hoisted into place in 90 minutes to win a race against a rival tower going up downtown. The Chrysler Building was the world's tallest structure for exactly 11 months, from May 1930 until the Empire State Building surpassed it in April 1931. Walter Chrysler built it entirely from his own personal fortune instead of corporate funds, but his monument outlasted his grip on it. He never actually owned the land beneath it. The land belonged to the Cooper Union Educational Foundation, which still owns it today.
Downtown in the East Village, on the corner of 12th and Broadway, is where you'll find The Strand. It has been standing its ground since 1927 and is the last surviving bookstore from what was once called Book Row, a 7-block stretch on 4th Avenue that housed 48 separate used bookstores. The Strand is all that remains. Founder Ben Bass started it with $600, $300 his own, $300 borrowed, and named it after the London street associated with Dickens, Thackeray, and Virginia Woolf. The store now holds 2.5 million books, and in the 1970s, two of the people behind its shelves were Patti Smith and Tom Verlaine of the punk band Television. The checkout counter of the Strand may have been the most rock and roll spot in all of literary New York. The current owner, Nancy Bass Wyden, started working there at age 6, sharpening pencils for the staff, and the building itself was recently designated a New York City landmark over the owner's objections, but the city decided it was too important to lose. The Brooklyn Botanic Garden was established in 1910 on land that had previously served as a city ash dump. From landfill to living garden, this is one of New York's most understated stories of transformation. It is home to the first Japanese-inspired public garden ever created in America, and to over 200 cherry trees of more than 20 varieties. Each spring, thousands make the pilgrimage to Sakura Matsuri, one of the largest cherry blossom festivals outside Japan itself. And when the garden's corpse flower blooms, unpredictably, sometimes years apart, the garden extends its hours so thousands can line up overnight to smell something described as rotting flesh and dirty gym socks. In Dumbo, Brooklyn, at the edge of the East River beneath the Brooklyn Bridge, there is a glass pavilion housing a carousel built in 1922. Jane's Carousel spent its early decades in Youngstown, Ohio, until its park closed in 1984 and the horses went to auction, individual figures fetching up to $35,000 each. Then came the announcement that the entire carousel had been kept intact and sold as one lot. Jane Walentas bought it and spent the next 27 years restoring it by hand, scraping back layers of old paint to find the original 1922 colours beneath. The pavilion that now houses it was designed by architect Jean Nouvel. Every hour on the hour, the horses' shadows play across the surrounding facades. It is the first carousel ever listed on the US National Register of Historic Places.
This city surprisingly keeps more than you'd expect. A carousel, a whale, and even an ash heap. What do you make of New York's impulse to save things? And what would you save? Share your comments below.
Beneath Lower Manhattan, sealed since 1945, there is a subway station that looks like a cathedral. City Hall Station opened on October 27, 1904, the very first day the New York City subway ran. The architects, the same team behind the Cathedral of St. John the Divine, built it as a civic palace. Guastavino vaulted tile ceilings, brass chandeliers, leaded glass skylights, graceful arches with no straight lines anywhere. It closed not because anything failed, but because the trains had grown too long for its curved platform. The loop track still turns 6 trains around in the dark every few minutes. Stay on past Brooklyn Bridge, and you'll catch a glimpse of those chandeliers and tiled arches as the train curves through. It's brief, but it stays with you.
Grand Central Terminal sees 22 million people a year pass beneath its famous painted ceiling, a backward constellation of the night sky. But very few of them find the Campbell. Tucked into the southwest corner of the terminal is a room that financier John W. Campbell leased from the Vanderbilt family in 1923 and transformed into a 13th century Florentine palace. Hand-painted ceilings soaring 25 feet, a Persian carpet that reportedly cost $300,000, and his butler Stackhouse presiding over private evening recitals. After Campbell died in 1957, it became a signalman's office, then a gun closet, then a jail. A $2 million renovation brought it back. His original steel safe now sits in the fireplace. It's a bar today, open to anyone who knows where to look. On West 36th Street, Keen's Steakhouse has been accumulating history since 1885. Look up when you walk in. The ceiling holds approximately 90,000 churchwarden pipes, each belonging to a pipe club member, Theodore Roosevelt, Babe Ruth, and Buffalo Bill Cody among them. When a member died, their pipe stem was broken, so it could never be smoked again. The Lincoln Room holds the theater program, reportedly in Lincoln's hands at Ford's Theater in 1865. Keen's also acquired the flag that draped his casket, purchased at auction for a whopping $656,250. Keen's was gentlemen only until 1905, when actress Lily Langtry was refused entry. She sued and won. She arrived in her feathered boa and ordered the mutton chop that had been denied her. The upstairs room now bears her name.
New York rarely stops moving long enough to explain itself. But underneath the speed and the noise and the famous skyline is a collection of human stories. A subway station glowing in the dark, a library with Winnie the Pooh in its vaults and miles of books underneath a public park. A steakhouse with 90,000 pipes on the ceiling, and a carousel saved by the crowd. New York is a city you'll never finish. It's a city you keep returning to, each visit adding another layer, another conversation, another reason to look more closely at the things you think you already know. If you'd like to keep exploring cities like this, be sure to like and subscribe for more, and share in the comments what surprised you the most. Until next time.